Thank you for joining us for another episode of Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement. I'm here at the News Forum where all voices matter. You know, the holiday season is a time for hope, yet Canada faces a continuing housing shortage and homelessness. Our guest today can shed some light on the issues. Please join me in welcoming Leigh Zachary Bursey, a longtime housing advocate who joins us from St. John's, Newfoundland. And also to welcome, a big welcome to Ray Sullivan. He's the head of the Canadian Housing and Renewal Association. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tony.
Gentlemen, let's start. I'd love to get each of your assessments of where we are. It's the end of 2023. Maybe give our audience, from your perspectives, a bit of an assessment of housing availability and affordability in this country. Leigh, do you want to get us going on that?
Absolutely. First, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to shed some light on this issue. It's definitely one that's been my life's work and something I'm very passionate about, and always grateful for anyone who wants to share a podium of this nature. All you have to do is look at no shortage of news stories right across the country about tent encampments. We're seeing them right here in St. John's, some very, very popular community fodder that's gone on in terms of very important conversation, especially as the seasons turn. We've seen it in Halifax, we've seen it in Hamilton, we've seen it in Waterloo, we see it in Vancouver, we're seeing it in Laval. We're seeing it basically right across the country. And while some of these issues are not exactly new to certain settings, they feel very new to many settings. And what that, if anything, does is illustrate that this is a very crucial time. And any effort that's being made, while very much commendable and very important, and definitely something that I would heartily recognize, many times feel as though it's patchwork. It often feels as though we are behind the eight ball on this discussion, and we needed to start well before today. And frankly, I represent seniors in one of my professional roles, who are the fastest growing envelope of housing insecure people in this country. And as I've mentioned to you before, Tony, you know, the idea that people who help build the neighborhoods of this nation, and fought the good fight to make this country what it is, are now fighting a war that they didn't sign up for, and that's a very devastating reality. Currently today, I'm sitting with a consortium of senior citizens celebrating the holiday, and I'm very grateful to be in that position. But the need and frustration that exists in that room, and the insecurity as we head towards what should be such a jovial and important time, is palpable. You can feel it in the room, and it's right. Definitely discouraging, and it's definitely overwhelming, and it definitely speaks to an issue that continues to raise alarms, not just in this community, in this city, in this neighborhood, but in the communities, cities, and neighborhoods right across the country.
Right. Ray, what's your perspective? Please share that with us.
Yeah, and you asked where we are. Where we are, Tony, is we're in trouble. And there have been a bunch of factors building for several decades, and then recent shifts in the economy have just completely overwhelmed the housing system. We're at the point of system failure when it comes to both rental and ownership housing, and we see this, as Leigh said, across the country. Small communities that have never had to deal with homelessness are now dealing with tent encampments in their parks, and often people who have jobs, people who would otherwise have found themselves back into housing, but that housing is so far out of reach, they've got no other options left.
Ray, continuing with you just for a second, obviously, I mean, I know your organization does lobby days on Parliament Hill to talk to MPs and so on. It seems to be in 2023 that you do have the housing, you do have the attention on the housing issue of the politicians and the governments, perhaps like never before. Is this a step in the right direction from your assessment?
Yeah, and CHRA represents community housing. We're the voice of the community housing sector, co-ops, nonprofits, public housing across the country. But look, it's one housing system. And what happens whether you're talking about $2 million single attached homes or a $650 room in a rooming house, all of these things are connected. And when you tug on one end of that chain, you get reverberations and effects on the other end of the chain. And this is what we're seeing across the housing spectrum right now. So it's good that there's more attention being paid. I think we ought to have been paying closer attention years and even decades ago so that we didn't end up in this problem that we're in right now, because it's going to take years and hopefully not, but maybe decades to get out of it.
Leigh, you're up. We're going to take a brief commercial break, though. I hope you can collect your thoughts for after the break on this very important issue. We've got Leigh Bursey and Ray Sullivan with us talking about housing and homelessness. Please stay with us. We'll be right back after these messages.